Hey there, it's Shauna. I hope you're doing great. Welcome to your weekly astrology forecast for April 9th. And this week I'm calling the final stretch because we're in the very last week of Mercury retrograde where we've been reviewing and assessing things and retooling things. And last week we had kind of an intense week with Mars and Saturn combining. This week there will be a little bit of intensity, but not nearly as much. And also we're in the dark phase of the moon. We'll have a new moon at the very end of the week. So this week is really like a final stretch, like the last final stretch of working on things and wrapping stuff up and just kind of coming to a certain sense of completion around things. And so that may mean that you're literally wrapping things up, or it may just be an overall feeling of pushing yourself to get through that final stretch, through that final sense of oomph. So I'm excited to share the astrology of this week with you, and then I have 3 tips for you to have an amazing week. So let's get started. We have earlier in the week, we have the Sun square Pluto. And so the Sun it's what we follow when we follow our sun signs, when we follow when someone is born. The Sun is like a big cosmic spotlight. It's what we're focused on at any certain point in time. And right now the Sun is in the last part of Aries before we move into Taurus season later in the month. And so the Sun is in Aries and it's going to square Pluto. So Aries is already about the self. It's about building courage and a healthy sense of ego, healthy sense of identity. And then it's coming into contact with Pluto. Pluto is about power. It's about digging into unconscious motives. And the Sun and Pluto together are really about how it is that you use your power, how it is that you use your influence, and how that all works out in your partnerships, in your relationships, in your social life, in your work life, in your family life, all of these different areas. But this is very much an emphasis on how it is that you feel powerful. Pluto is power. And how you allow other people to influence you as well, for better or for worse. And so that's just something to think about. Another element of this particular aspect is on the same day, so this is happening on Tuesday, so earlier in the week, the same day Venus will trine Mars. And so this is interesting because Venus is feminine energy. Venus allows us to connect with others socially, to build these strong social relationships. And then Mars is what it symbolizes how we go after things, drive, physical vitality. And so Venus and Mars trine, it's like a very harmonious aspect, and it denotes where we can really connect with other people and we can have a strong influence. We can get the things that we want. Venus is what it is that we value, and then Mars is I want to go after that thing. So, and I'll have more information on the tips on how to use this, but I would be very aware of how it is that you use your influence, and use that for good, use that wisely. And where is it that you feel powerful? Because I think this week there is this added ability for you to really feel powerful when you take control of your own personal life. So that's that. The second thing that's happening this week is that Mercury will station direct. So that means that Mercury retrograde is over, and at least until a few months from now. So this is important because Mercury goes retrograde a few times a year, usually 3 to 4 times a year. And when it is retrograde, like it has been the past 3 weeks or so, it's a time of reviewing. It's a time of intellectual processing. Mercury is related to the mind and thought and communication. And so, so I don't know, tell me how it's been for you. Some Mercury retrograde periods are more intense than others. This particular Mercury retrograde has been in the sign of Aries. So very much thinking about how it is that you are an individual, what is your identity, what is your sense of ego, how much do you feel how much do you feel fear? How much do you feel courage? How much do you feel like a sense of being able to brave new territory? And then the other element of this whole Mercury retrograde process is that it's been mostly an aspect to Saturn when it has made aspects during the retrograde process. And so this brings up issues around boundaries and responsibility, and I think also to a certain extent, we may have been reviewing how it is that we use our time during this period. And so I say all of that because I want you to notice like what around those themes of like reviewing, maybe even like just reviewing your schedule, when you say yes, when you say no, how you allot your time, has any of that stuff come up for you? And so this is like that final week of reviewing things. And Mercury will station direct on Sunday, and it's stationing direct at 5 degrees of Aries. That's important if you have any personal planets at 5 degrees of either Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn. That means that it's going to have more of a personal influence for you, but for all of us, it's stationing direct, so it's an important time. So again, I would just like really, you know, if you have a journaling practice or a contemplation practice, it's helpful this week to review and to reprocess and that kind of thing. The other thing that's happening on Sunday is we also have a new moon in Aries on Sunday. So the same time, the same exact day that Mercury is stationing direct, there's also a new moon in the same exact sign. And so this new moon is exact on Sunday, April 15th at 6:57 p.m. Pacific time. And it's exact at 26 degrees of Aries. And if you want to know more about what the degrees mean in astrology, I made a video about that. I'll link it below so that you can get more information on that. So the interesting thing with this new moon is the whole Mercury retrograde situation, but also it's very close to Uranus in Aries. And so I think that this new moon may bring like a new sense of, I don't know if I want to say necessarily clarity, because when Mercury stations direct, it's not like we go out of the gates and we're like, yes, I know all of the things, I have full clarity. It takes a while. It takes a while for Mercury to get back into its natural rhythm, which means it takes us a while to get out of this process of review and into full speed again. But it's kind of like a pivot point, because Mercury is appearing to go backwards and then it's stopping and then appearing to go forwards again. So I don't know, maybe that's how you feel this weekend. I think this weekend is definitely a good time to notice new insights that come to you. Uranus and the new moon together definitely say like new awareness around something, new ideas, like that light bulb moment is what I'm really feeling for this weekend. And all in the sign of Aries too. So like a lot of emphasis on personal power, on connecting to your own identity, your own healthy sense of ego, what it is that you need, what it is that you want, and that it's okay for you to connect with those things, that's actually really healthy, and that helps you help other people and helps you be more connected when your needs are met first. So that's the astrology of the week. I have 3 tips for you to really make the most of this. Tip number 1 is to do your own thing this week. So I say do your own thing because we have the Sun and Pluto together, and when that combination happens, it can be very attractive to tell other people what to do or to get involved in someone else's business. And I don't want that for you. I want you to be involved in your business, because Pluto is about power dynamics, and so you may even find that people want to get into your business or to tell you what to do, and I want you to focus on doing your own thing. And important because of that Pluto aspect, but also like we're still in this tail end of Aries season, and there's so much that's happening in Aries, and so it's beneficial to really make the most of that, to focus on you as an individual and what it is that you want, what it is that you need. And I know that may sound selfish, but it's not. Like it's important, you're important, and that is one of the main themes of Aries, is the individual self. So that's tip number 1, is to do your own thing. Tip number 2, to kind of like counteract this, is to be helpful. And with a caveat, to be helpful, especially if there's like a mutually beneficial situation that you can create. And I say that because we have that Venus trine Mars this week. And so this is a really great time to place yourself in situations where you can be helpful to someone, and then maybe they can be helpful to you. You know, this can be as simple as like, if you see a need and someone needs something that you can actually help with, to volunteer yourself or to ask for help. You know, I think it's kind of like a delicate balance sometimes, because, you know, it has to feel appropriate to offer your help, to insert yourself into a situation. But I don't know, just see if something comes up. It might not, but I think that's this week is a really sweet opportunity to do that, to put yourself in a position where you can be helpful. And then especially even better if that person can be helpful to you as well, so that it's like a mutually beneficial kind of thing. I'm imagining this especially like within, if there's like something that you've been struggling with, or something that you need like coverage on. Maybe it's like, I don't know, calling a babysitter for help so that you can have a night to yourself or something like that. Or maybe it's asking for assistance on a business project. It's just asking for someone's opinion or something like that. I don't know. You'll know what's appropriate for you, but that is tip number 2, is to be helpful, especially in a mutually beneficial situation. And then tip number 3 is to slow it down this week. And I say that because that's literally what's happening with Mercury. It is, so when Mercury approaches the point at which it becomes direct, it will slow down its path through the zodiac. So this is important because Mercury represents our mental and analytical processing. So that means like, it symbolizes a slowdown of the mind and the intellect. And this is not bad. This is actually a good thing, because we're slowing everything down so that we can absorb things better, so that we can really process, and so that we can make sense of things. It makes me think of how I know for myself, when I have a lot going on in my waking life, I often need more sleep, because I need more time to like process all of this stuff, all of the things that are happening in my life. And I feel that kind of theme with this particular week, is that things are slowing down. To give you a certain like literal idea of this, Mercury normally, when it's not in retrograde, it moves through the zodiac about 2 degrees every day or so. So it'll be like 10 degrees of Aries on this day, and then the following day it'll be like 12 degrees of Aries, and then 14, and then 16, etc. But this week, the entire week, it's at 5 degrees of Aries. So it's like super duper slow right now. So what that means for you is, how is it that you can slow everything down? You don't need to go at warp speed this week. It's not important. I want you to think about quality over quantity, and especially when it comes to anything that you need to do that's analytical. I know that's not always convenient, but you know, do what you can do to like mirror that kind of energy. And I think that you'll actually find that you're more productive and more efficient when you do slow down a little bit. So those are my 3 tips, and then I have a card that I want to pull for us. So I've been pulling these animal cards from the Wild Unknown. I don't have the box, but they have like this cool little reptile thing on it. I don't know if you can see that. So what's cool is that you can have something in mind that you want clarity on, or you can just ask as you're watching this that you get a message for whatever it is that you need to know this week. And I haven't picked the card yet. We'll do it together. So this is the oyster. You can see that. So this is a cool card, and I want to tell you about it, but I first want you just to notice what comes to mind for you when you think about oyster, or even like the pearl that's inside the oyster. So number one, the first thing that jumps out at me is how I like how on this card, woo, I just dropped my water, but that's okay. We're gonna keep going because why not? So I like how, look at, there's like this little, like, I don't even know what to call this around the outside, but it to me, it's got like this shining bright light kind of thing. Like it's like, bam, like, boo. Like not like an explosion, but like, I don't know, like there's a little sparkle coming from inside of the oyster. And, I like all the little, it almost looks like confetti around the outside too, these little, sparkle things. So that's, I think, is interesting. And then I know about the oyster is that it symbolizes when there's a situation that is agitating or irritating, which is the sand inside the oyster, that can actually turn into something very valuable and something very beautiful and precious, and that's the pearl. So, so that's what this symbolizes, is that there's like something that maybe is like gritty or uncomfortable, which is sand, that over time it could turn out to be something actually very precious. And I think a part of that is that process takes time, and that process takes like incubation too, because like the oyster, it's like a very, like, we can't see what's going on in there, you know what I mean? There's like a period of gestating and letting things just kind of simmer in the pot that needs to happen. So that's what I think of when I see this card. I'm curious what you think of and how you would apply that to your life. So if you want to leave a comment, I would love that. So yeah, so that's your weekly horoscope for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please share it with a friend. I love to connect with as many people as possible and to get these messages out. If you want more inspiration and guidance, you can listen to Neo Feminine TV. So that is a weekly live broadcast that I do to give you, again, more inspiration and guidance for an amazing life. And so I'm doing that now live on YouTube, which has been really fun. It's kind of like a different thing for me to do it actually on YouTube live, but it's cool because you can listen and watch, and then you can leave comments in the comment section, and I can see it real time, and we can kind of have like a little conversation. It's really cool. So I do that every Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and then the recording is available, of course, on YouTube and then also on iTunes. So I'll have a link below to connect with all of that stuff. And if you want to know how some of this astrology is manifesting for you personally, or if you are having your birthday, you want to look at the year ahead, you can contact me for an astrology reading. I'll have information below on my website to find out more about that. So that's all for this week. I am sending you lots of love and wishing you an amazing week. Namaste.